Dear friends, in this session, we are going to discuss and deliberate on the four squares of pole activity. This graph can be seen on page 29 of the book Shape of Economy, and graph 6 illustrates the four poles of stability. Four poles, as we have already discussed, are two poles of monetary values, that is income and expenditure, and two poles represent physical stability, that is consumption and production. If we divide the square of economy in four equal parts, then we will get the four squares of perfect size. In a perfect sphere, a perfect square, and within a perfect square, if we divide it in four parts, we will get four perfectly equal smaller squares. Each square will illustrate the relative strength of the four poles of economy. For example, one pole that belongs to income, the square related to it will illustrate the size of that square. Similarly, if a square is on the pole of consumption, it will denote the strength of consumption. Similarly, production and expenditure. Each square occupies same geometrical area in a stage of perfect equilibrium. Any deviation from perfect equilibrium to a changed dynamic equilibrium will cause that square to either gain space or it will lose, its value will reduce. So any increase or decrease in the area of that square will always denote whether that pole is gaining strength or is losing interest compared to other poles of economic activity. It is always relative to changed values. Any deviation from perfect equilibrium to a changed dynamic equilibrium will can be measured by calculating the area of that square in terms of how it is proportional to other pole activities. So it will always denote how much deviation has taken place, and the next stage will be to achieve the parity with other poles. Means it will always strive to once again gain the status of dynamic equilibrium. We have discussed in previous sessions also that it is not possible to achieve perfect equilibrium in change circumstances. It can be brought nearer to ideal shape of economy, but the purpose of management of economy is always to achieve a closest possible balance between the four activities of four economic activities of economy, that is income, consumption, production and expenditure. In this case, any change has to be measured anti-clockwise. For example, if the pole of expenditure gains strength by increasing the area it occupies, the next change in the area of pole activity of income. Anti-clockwise, if you see that expenditure, left hand side, it is income. So naturally, if the expenditure grows, it must cause increase in income. Only then the anti-clockwise movement will cause consumption to increase. This is the economic logic that any increase in the income causes consumption to grow. So anti-clockwise, if the pole activity of consumption grows, in that case, it will cause anti-clockwise the square of stability of production. It's a natural sequence that consumption will cause production to increase. So, natural effect in the change in area of square of consumption will cause change in square of production. Anti-clockwise, if we analyze it, the production will cause increase in expenditure. So this is a natural, it is a economic logic that if the production will increase, then the cost of production will increase. That means to say the expenditure will increase. So anti-clockwise movement from expenditure once again to income and then consumption, and consumption will cause production to grow, and production will again cause the expenditure, growth in expenditure. So this is a circular movement, but it is always anti-clockwise. There cannot be direct increase if we say that income will cause growth in production immediately. There cannot be direct effect of growth of income on production. Income will, if it doesn't cause consumption to grow, then there can be no reason for the production to grow. Similarly, if there is a increase in expenditure, it cannot directly cause increase in production. The growth in expenditure must cause income to grow first and then expenditure, then consumption. Only the growth in consumption can cause the growth in production. Any artificial movement without following this chain of circular movement of economy will not be sustainable. We can plan for production waiting for the market to grow, the demand to grow, but ultimately if it doesn't increase, the demand or the consumption doesn't increase, there cannot be any logical increase in production. Demand can always be forecasted. We can make a forecast that in future what kind of production techniques will be and what kind of demand from consumers will grow and what kind of products will be in demand in future. It can only be anticipated. The anticipation may be right or may not be. It depends on the how market forces are in operation, like purchasing power and affordability. The cost of production, if it is affordable, only in that case consumption grow, and if that is causing the production, that is sustainable. Otherwise, any anticipatory increase in production without commensurate increase in income will always be misleading and a waste of financial resources. So this is the logic of four pole activity of four pull up activity. When we discuss the chart of how the equilibrium and how the effect is causing or on other respective poles of square of economy stability, it will become ample clear to all the students of economics. Now, if we divide the square of economy in four triangles, that is, I will attract your attention on graph 7. You will find that on the lines of operation of forces of repulsion, means how repulsive forces operate in the sphere of economy, you will find that four perfect triangles emerge, and they will denote the triangles of stability of demand that that triangle will integrate two poles, one pole of monetary activity and another pole of physical activity, that is consumption. So that triangle will also show the stability of volume, demand volume, that how the forces of demand is causing other triangles to shrink or grow in area. Similarly, if the two poles, physical activity of consumption and production, another triangle of stability of physical activity, because consumption is also a physical activity and production is also a physical activity. So in that case, this triangle will denote a, in a perfect stage of equilibrium, it will be two poles, physical poles of consumption and production will be equal. Similarly, if we watch the triangle of stability of atmosphere, that is the supply atmosphere, the forces of supply, because forces of supply means growth in production as well as growth in expenditure. So a perfect triangle in this case will always show the stability of supply atmosphere. What this atmosphere means and what volume, demand volume means, it has been discussed before also. So I need not elaborate it further. But the fourth triangle that touches the pole of income on one side and expenditure on other side, these two are monetary forces, monetary equivalents of consumption and production, but they are expressed in terms of monetary value. So this triangle will represent the stability of monetary forces. Monetary forces comprises income and expenditure. So this is the illustration of four triangles of stability of demand volume and physical stability and stability of supply atmosphere, and fourth activity, fourth triangle will demonstrate the stability of monetary equivalent, that is expressed in terms of income and expenditure. Further elaboration of this, that how these four triangles affect each other, will be discussed in lectures to follow, but it will once again be any change will be anti-clockwise, as we have just discussed in elaborating the four squares of pole activity. Till then, thank you and wait for the further discussion on shape of economy.